sometimes we as men just work at a feverish pace because we think if we're busy, we're productive. But if we're working at a feverish pace and we're not doing the right things, then we're just going to achieve failure that much faster. Kipp, what's up, man? Great to see you. I was hoping that we could connect this week, but you had church obligations. I was trying to get you out of teaching a lesson at church, and you're like, sorry, I have to teach at church, but I appreciate your priorities.
Gospel doctrine. Yeah. And it was okay. It was okay. Trust me, I wanted to get out of it. It's just I made the commitment weeks ago, and so I was like, yeah, darn it.
Fair enough. No, I get it. And then you just on the mend from your man cold, which is why I told the guys, which is why you couldn't be with us last week. So they're glad that you're, healed and you're out of the hospital and, all the things that went wrong in your life because you had this little man cold for 24 hours. They were really worried about you.
Here's the reality, man cold. You're supposed to get pampered. It didn't work. So maybe I'm over the man colds. They're not paying off.
You just do it too often. That's the key. You just do it too often. Now Asia's like, all right, no, dude, you've outworn your welcome on this one.
Yeah, too many man colds. Yeah.
I did tell the guys you were probably being pampered, having saltines, chicken noodle soup, and watching Price is Right for the entire day. Because isn't that what we did when we were kids, when we had a cold, or we faked a cold?
Yeah.
No.
Watch TV. You can't select anything. You just have to watch whatever's on in the middle of the day.
Man, Price is Right was my go-to. That and All My Children or the Time of Our Lives or something. Soap operas my grandma used to watch.
They're so bad too.
Yeah,
so bad.
Well, hey, we got some good questions, but I want to get to a headline first. And this is in the news. This is everywhere right now. It's the crazy Karen who loses her mind at the Phillies game. You saw this, right? I think everybody's seen this at this point. Oh my gosh. Yep. I mean, if you don't know, where have you been? But essentially the gist of the story is that there's 3 or 4 people going for a ball that was hit, a home run that was hit, and a dad ran over and he grabbed the ball. The other lady almost got it, but she didn't. The guy grabbed it. He didn't grab it out of her hand. He didn't fight her for it. He just grabbed it before she did. Yeah. And he ran back over to his family and he gave it to his son and he felt proud. His son was excited, and crazy Karen came over and just verbally assaulted the man. And there's 3 lessons that I wanted to talk about in this. First of all, guys, there are cameras everywhere, especially at a sports game on a home run. Okay, don't do crazy things in public. Don't do crazy things at all. But really just don't do crazy things in public, because the odds of it being recorded are significantly higher than they've ever been throughout human history. It used to be that maybe one person saw something dumb you did. Now everybody will see it, especially if it's particularly dumb. The Coldplay cheating fiasco, this one. Then there's the guy that stabbed the woman on the bus or public transit just over the weekend. Cameras are everywhere, so don't be crazy, and don't be like that lady. I think she's a school administrator. If I understand correctly.
Classic.
And she since has lost her job based on what I've seen. And
no way they fired her for it?
That's what it looks like, because, well, and you got to think, like, not only that behavior, but when you lose faith of the people that you're trying to serve, you can't serve them anymore. And she was getting emails from students, emails from parents, the school districts, everything else was just bombarding her. She can't effectively do her job anymore. Even if they wanted to keep her around, there's no way that would happen. And I think that's good. Public accountability is good when you behave like a crazy Karen. So that's lesson number 1. Lesson number 2, what is with this dude? When she ran over...
Giving it up.
Not only that, but even before that, she ran over, and I don't know if you saw the way that he responded. He was like shocked and like held up his hands and made this scared face. Did you see that?
Yeah.
I'm like, what? What is with this dude? Like that first of all, and I don't want to judge his character. I don't know the man. I don't know. He seems like he's probably a pretty engaged father, but don't do that. Like, turn around, square up if you need to, if you're shocked, but don't do that, whatever he did. And don't give the ball back. You had every right to grab that ball. You did right. You didn't do anything wrong. And you don't need to acquiesce to crazy Karen's verbal assault and abuse. Just have some fortitude, have some courage. Go tell her to sit down. Be respectful. You don't need to get into it with her. And then just enjoy the night, because what are you teaching your son? You're teaching him that if somebody just berates you, or somebody doesn't like something that you did, or somebody doesn't like you, that you're the one that has to change, that you're the one has to sacrifice because somebody else has a problem. Now, if he had stole that ball out of her hand, then I think it would be like, hey, you know what? You're right.
Yeah,
I'm
my
sorry.
bad. You're
Let me
right.
give this back to you.
Totally.
But that's not what happened. He had every right to have that ball, and he taught his son something that I don't think he should have taught him. The third lesson is the Phillies did a phenomenal job to bring this kid in, to give him souvenirs, to treat him like a hero, and they recognized an opportunity. And some people say, well, it's just marketing. I don't care what it is. They recognized a good opportunity to serve this kid, make it right, save face a little bit. And I think that was a gesture of goodwill. So props to the Phillies for taking care of that young man that way. So kind of an interesting story, kind of funny, but there's a lot to be learned and unpacked from that story.
Totally. Well, and what I love about what the Phillies did is look at the turnaround of how that worked out. So, I mean, this happened mid-game. So camera guys talked with someone, announcer, MC, made some phone call. Like, there's coordination that made that happen for that boy to get the benefit after the game, which is super cool, right? That they rallied.
Yeah.
And I think the other sentiment that I like about this is people are pissed off. Why? Well, maybe because there's some good people left.
Yeah.
Maybe there's enough people that still are like, hey, that's not cool. That's not acceptable. Let's rally a little bit, right? Maybe criticize this lady. But most importantly, like, you know, what's benefit this kid a little bit. And that's, I don't know, like that's nice too, you know, that we're just not all passive.
Yeah, I agree with that. And one thing I would say is the lady has more than learned her lesson, I hope, at this point. So there's no reason to dogpile at this point. You know,
totally. In fact, I feel kind of sorry for her. You know what I mean? Like if she lost her job out of it too, that kind of sucks, right?
I don't feel sorry for the consequences of it, but I think it'll go away eventually, but there will be some residual fallout from it. And some of it justified and some of it not. So I don't think we need to pile on at this point. I don't think like doxing or threatening or anything. That's something that's obviously very common. I'm sure she's getting that kind of stuff. It's just unnecessary, uncalled for, and we all have bigger things to worry about. Let's take the lessons. Let's hold people accountable if they need it, and then drive on with our own lives. Because that's most important, is what you're going to do with your life moving forward, not what she is.
Totally.
So. Yeah.
Yeah, not criticizing everybody else but yourself. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into some questions. So last week when you weren't here, Kipp, I answered questions from our Brotherhood, the Iron Council. And it was all based on productivity, daily scheduling, productivity in your day, all that kind of stuff, planning, etc. So we had some really good questions and some good feedback on that episode. I think guys were really found a lot of value from the information there. So we're going to do a part 2 of that today using questions from the Facebook group. And then what we're going to do next week is we're going to do a new topic. So we're going to experiment a little bit and try different topics rather than ask me anything about anything. They'll be topic driven, and then we'll answer the questions within those topics. Something to try, something that might help direct a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. All right, Will Luna, work-life balance. I have a set schedule, but when I get home at the end of the day, I'm tired and I don't have any energy for the honey to-do list. I want to spend that time with my family.
Yeah. Well, I don't believe in work-life balance because when people say that term, they're trying to find the perfect ratio of time spent at work versus time spent at home. And that's just not how life works. If I'm under a deadline, I've got to spend more time than normal at work. And it just is the way it is. If one of my children breaks their arm or gets suspended from school or name it, then maybe I've got to spend a little bit more time with my family engaged in family life. So I tend to look at balance as a verb rather than some destination or some place that we achieve. meaning that you're balancing and you're constantly taking in information from your life and making decisions about where to invest your time and energy in those given moments. And sure, I'd love to be home all day, every day, but I can't. And there's days where I would love to work more because I have work to get done, but I can't. I have to be at home. So we just have to factor those decisions and get this idea that there's some perfect balance of work and life that will help us achieve all of our wildest dreams. The second part of this question, or the second thing that I wanted to address, is why are you tired? Now, I don't know what kind of work you do. If it's manual labor, I can certainly understand being tired. If it's not manual labor, I can even understand being mentally and emotionally exhausted, depending on what your work is. But you shouldn't be tired after an 8-hour day to the point where you just want to plop on the couch and not really do anything. And so I have to ask, how's your health? Are you in shape? Are you out of shape? Are you overweight? Are you not sleeping well? Are you not fueling correctly? Are you eating a bunch of junk and processed sugars? Are your hormones out of balance? What's your testosterone levels? I would take a look into all of that, because I think if you were to get that dialed in, you'd find yourself automatically having more energy. And it is a bit counterintuitive when you think that maybe you should get up an hour earlier. What if that was my advice to you? You're like, what? An hour earlier? Yeah, to go to the gym. And you might say, well, I'm going to be more tired. You will for 2 or 3 days. You definitely will. And then you'll adjust. Your body will make the corrections. You'll start losing weight. You'll feel better. Your body will heal. And then you'll have more energy at the end of the day. And the third element that I would say on this one is sometimes you have to, what I would call, task stack or activity stack. There might be the honeydew list that you talked about. Maybe she wants you to fix the toilet that isn't working correctly, and so you got to go in there and fix the lever. I don't know how old your kids are. Bring your kids in there and show them how to do it. No. Maybe you need to change the oil, or maybe you don't know how to change the oil, but she wants the oil changed in the car, and so you got to take it down to Jiffy Lube or wherever you take it, and you take one of the kids and you sing some songs, you have some fun, you drop it off, you go walk down to the icy shop next door or the convenience store and you get a drink, and you guys just have a good evening while you're waiting for your car to be fixed. Last night I was putting some hardware on some bathroom cabinets, and my girlfriend and I were in there just talking. I was doing the work and we were in there talking, and it was great. We got that done. We had a good conversation. And so sometimes as a man, you just have to stack things up. And if you can find ways to be efficient in that, I think you'll find that even something as mundane as fixing the toilet lever could actually be a really cool experience between you and your kids, or something cool between you and your wife.
Yeah, I love it. You know, I like Will's question's interesting, right? I kind of chuckled when I read it, right? Because it's work-life balance, it's schedule. I don't have the energy to do the honey to-do list. That's my time to spend it with my family. It's like, well, hold on. If you have energy not to do the list, you probably don't have energy to spend quality time with family either, right? So the energy thing's an energy thing. And I like, Will, I love the idea that you use the word energy, because a lot of times I realize, like, scheduling of what we're doing and trying to be productive, we'll often look at it from a time perspective, but we don't think about managing our energy. And so be mindful of that. One, to Ryan's point, how's your health, all that kind of stuff. But make sure that you're not depleted by the time you go home. Like, so what do you need to do to not be as exhausted physically and or mentally exhausted at work, and prioritize your family? Because if you don't have the energy or the mental capacity, then your priorities are off. And I know that sounds crazy, but that's what you need to do. Someone said this to me the other day, and let me know what your thoughts are on this, Ryan, but it was fascinating. I was on the mats, I was talking with this uber successful individual, and I was telling him about, we were talking about work, and I'm like, yeah, it'll take up a lot of time because, for me to put my heart to it. And he goes, well, why would you put all your heart into it for? And I was like, well, because that's what I should do. And he's like, maybe. Or maybe you should just do the job, but not give it your all always. And I thought, that's interesting. Like, my default is always like all in. And he's like, why would you do that? You got to reserve your energy. You got these other focus, like, you know what I mean? And so disrupt that a little bit. I thought it was interesting. And I'm not saying that we don't put our all into it, but I'm also saying, I don't know. It's just this idea, challenge your way of thinking and challenge how you're showing up at work, and make sure you're not prioritizing all your energy on something that's less important than your family. So whatever that looks like.
As you were saying that with this guy, I mean, he's uber successful. You said that, so he knows some things. Yeah. So there's got to be. Yeah. I mean, he's credible, right? Automatically, he's credible. Yeah. It got me thinking of an analogy. Imagine being a running back for a great football team, like Barry Sanders. You know, one of the greatest running backs of all time, right? And you take a guy like that, and sometimes he's going to charge through the hole, and he's going to move, and he's going to dance, and he's going to make his move and score. And other times he's going to slow play a run, like a draw or something like that. And he's going to wait for the hole to show itself. And then he's going to kind of move through that hole, read the field, and then he's going to make his move. And what it's got me thinking is that sometimes we as men just work at a feverish pace because we think if we're busy, we're productive. But if we're working at a feverish pace and we're not doing the right things, then we're just going to achieve failure that much faster. And so I think, just as I heard you say that with this guy you were talking with, that there's some validity to not always feeling like you have to work at a feverish pace and letting things play out. Or maybe there's something going on behind the scenes that other people might say, oh, he's slacking. It's like, no, I'm not slacking. I'm just focused on this other project that you don't even know exists yet. So I think there's something to be said for that too.
Yeah, right focus of priority. Here's another crazy thought. It's a little bit of a derail, but I think there's some truth to this. It's a quote by Dale Carnegie. I use this quote a lot to illustrate why employees are disengaged at work and they feel burned out. I use this quote a lot to kind of disrupt people's thought process, because at first glance, when you hear that, Ryan, an employee's burned out, what do you think? They're working 60, doing too much. 70 hours. Yeah, they're working hours. Here's this quote by Dale Carnegie. Our fatigue is often caused not by work, but by worry, frustration, and resentment. And I think that's profound, man. You start thinking about what eats up your energy. Is the energy of, oh man, I had an 8-hour day. I got so much done and I'm feeling happy about my job and my marriage. That wears you out? Or is it the things that you're kicking the can down the road, the things you're procrastinating, the unresolved relationship that you haven't addressed? Those things eat up energy probably more than anything else, right? And so, yes, health, dial in, but maybe focus on the mind a little bit. What's eating up your mental fortitude around worry, frustration, and resentment? That might play a part as well.
That's actually a good point, because I think about how busy I like to be on vacation, but I'm not tired on vacation. But I'm just as active on vacation as I am during the day. I'm just doing different things. It's a good point. Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah, you're feeling better about the stuff that you're doing.
Yeah, I'm energized. Yeah. All right, cool. What's next?
Yeah. All right. Eric Searing, refocusing or recalibrating your goals and structure when interruptions occur.
Well, first, limit the interruptions. So figure out what type of interruptions are happening, because you're hyper inefficient during interruptions. So you have to block that out. You have to establish boundaries. You have to ensure that people know your code of conduct, so to speak, how and when they can reach out to you, when they can connect with you. You also have to know what your temptations are. My phone's over on here's a great example. My phone's over there on the desk. It's not in front of me, because if it was in front of me, it's going to be beeping at me. People are going to be sending texts and everything else. And then I'm going to be distracted from doing this. I don't want to be distracted. I want to be focused on the conversation, Kipp, you and I are having, and the quality of answers that we're providing to the men who will listen. So I eliminate distractions. My environment is conducive and set up in a way that I have minimum distractions. Even when I'm doing stuff, because I work at home and my kids are here, I tell my kids, hey guys, I'm jumping on a meeting. Unless it's an emergency or something's horribly wrong, don't interrupt. Here's dinner. Here's a couple of things you could do. Here's how to entertain yourselves. And when I'm done, here's what we're going to do. So look forward to that. But I set those things up ahead of time so that I'm not distracted. But if you are, this is where having a plan comes in place. Most guys wing it. They really do. They get into work and they only then do they decide what they're going to do. And then they get that thing done. They're like, okay, what do I do next? Let's see. Well, this isn't this. No, I already have my week planned out. I know everything I'm going to do today. I've built in buffers. I talked about that on the podcast last week. I know what's going to happen tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day. I have buffers, so if things go wrong, it's not going to completely derail my week. I know that if I can only accomplish one or two things today and it still be a success, I'm going to do that first because I don't know what's going to happen this afternoon.
Yeah.
Some great opportunity might present itself. For example, if Joe Rogan said, hey, I want you to be on the podcast at 3:00 this afternoon, I'm dropping everything else. I'm going to be there because that's a good opportunity to be there, right? Or if there's something even more catastrophic, one of my kids is in a car accident, things like that happen too. I can't let that stuff derail me. But when it does, if you have a plan, then you can get right back on track. So if I know, for example, that I'm going to be checking and responding to emails and text correspondence from noon to 2, and then something comes up, somebody distracts me, I still have to keep to that noon to 2 schedule, but I'm not going to have to figure out what I'm going to do so I can get back into the process quicker if I get distracted. There's other things you can do like delegation. You can tell people, hey, at 2:00 I'm available, so kick the can down the road a little bit until 2:00. That's when I'll be available for you. You don't need to make other people's problems your priority unless it's a problem for you. And in that case, that's where the buffers come in.
Yeah. Well, and before I add some thoughts on Eric, let me read this question by Justin because it's correlates, and I want to see if you want to add anything in addition to your response. He says, Justin Herzl says, would like to hear your thoughts on creating a plan that encompasses daily activities that move the needle and trying that into a long-term objective so that everything is in full alignment. How to get back on track when the routine goes off the rails because of unforeseen circumstances, getting clear on what you want in life so that you always have directional correctness.
Is that a question? Because it sounds like it's pretty comprehensive.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, just your thoughts on anything you would add around, because what I liked about what he wrote here is kind of full alignment, right? Bigger picture as part of that.
Right.
So then that way, when there's disruption, you can kind of go back to and know what the priorities are.
Well, that's the exact planning model that we use in our 12-week battle planning model. The idea that first you create a vision for yourself, either goals-based or values-based vision on how you're going to show up, what you want, how you want to be viewed in the world, how you want to view the world, and what you want your environment around you to look like. So that's the very first thing. And coincidentally enough, it's the thing that's most overlooked. Yeah. Most men just get right into work. Just work. It's like, whoa. We'll get to work. We will. Trust me. But we need to make sure that the work we're doing is actually going to, as Justin said, move the needle in the right direction. But move the needle towards what? If you haven't thought about what you want, what needle are you moving and where is it moving to? What is it pointing to? Nothing. It's just spinning around in circles, that needle on the compass. It's just spinning around in circles. What is it aiming at? So figure that out first. And we have exercises for that. If you want to go to orderofman.com/battle-ready, we'll teach you those exercises on how to write your vision. From your vision, you then begin to create objectives. And we cover 4 key areas. And I won't get into all this now just for the sake of time, but we get into 12-week objectives in 4 key categories of life. What am I going to accomplish in 12 weeks? And then once you have those objectives, then you reverse engineer into tactics. What do I need to do every day to ensure that I meet that objective. And then that way, the most important things I do on a daily basis are those 4 things. And when anything else comes up, I ask myself, is this in alignment with my objectives and or my vision? And if it's not, I'm less inclined to do it. That's not to say I won't, because it may require my attention. If I have an emergency, that may not align with my vision or my objective, but it is, for example, an important part of connection and relationships, which is one of the areas that we cover. So everything is moving in alignment towards the type of man that I want to be. And if I deviate from that, I can address those as long as they're worthy of addressing, and then correct it, fix it, do whatever, and then get back to my tactics for the day.
Totally. You know what disruptions are the difficult ones? Are the ones that we create for ourselves because of some instant dopamine hit, or we lose priority of what we should be doing for the sake of some quick win or some other item that is outside the list of the priority, right? Like there are disruptions, obviously, that people will bring to the table and disrupt us. But I think especially a high caliber man, a lot of the guys in the Iron Council, probably the bigger, more difficult disruptions are the things that we add, that we disrupted. And then we start on a tangent, start going down some path because of some instant gratification, or if I do this thing, it strokes my ego in a particular way, but it's out of alignment with the very thing that I said was important. And so keep in mind, there's 2 types of disruptions. Obviously, ones that people bring to the table, but be very mindful of what disruptions you're creating for yourself that might not be in the top priority list.
Yeah, and I would say, even to whittle that down maybe a little bit further, I think what you're saying is right. And also what I've seen guys do, myself included, are what I would call noble obstacles. And a noble obstacle is something that seems noble. It seems righteous. It seems like a good thing to do. So an example of that would be you get a phone call from a friend. Maybe you've known him for 20, 30 years, and he started up a 501c3, a really cool charity or organization that is doing great work, and you really want to be a man who helps and sits on the board and volunteers and contributes and gives back and gives insight. And so you say, yeah, I'll sit on your board. I would love to do that. And then all of a sudden it takes up 2, 3, 5 hours a week that could be spent on your business or on your family. And I'm not saying you shouldn't sit on the board, by the way. That's not what I'm telling you. What I'm telling you is, does that align with your mission? If your mission is to give back, well, maybe you're already sitting on a board. Why do you need to sit on 2? People say that all the time. Well, I just want to be helpful. Let somebody else be helpful in that department. If you really want to be helpful, then double down with the thing you're already doing. So if you already sit on a board, give them 2 more hours and let somebody else sit on that board. Again, it all is based on your vision, not what I think you should do.
What did you call those, Ryan?
Noble obstacles.
You had a label. Noble obstacles. I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
And in corporate America, this happens all the time. It's funny. We'll talk about on the business front how often we need to create alignment between leadership and employees, right? That there's unified focus around what we do. I used to think, oh, that's a problem. Like, we need to get people aligned. I actually don't think it's a problem. I think most employees and most organizations are actually fully aligned. Do what's right for the customer, do quality work. Like, there's not a problem with alignment. The problem is all the little pet projects and all the little things that people are implementing. Why? Because it makes them feel validated and good about their position. It's the distractions we create in our environment that prevent us from acting on something greater for the organization. So and you can see how that correlates, obviously, at the personal level. But interesting nonetheless.
Well, I've always thought that, I don't know if I've always thought this, but I believe this now, is it's much more effective and efficient as your use of time and resources goes to do what you're currently doing better than it is to do something different. And that applies to everything. If you're at work and you've got an assignment that you need to do, or maybe that is your department, you might say, oh, well, what if this? And we can sprinkle that and sprinkle that. Dude, you're not even doing 80 to 90% of the work you could be doing at your current thing. You want to feel valuable? I get that desire. We have guys that do this in the Iron Council. They'll be like, oh, I'm going to start this new thing or this new channel in Iron Council. I'm like, whoa, hold on. You're not even contributing to the channel that applies to now. Do that. Well, I just want to be valuable. I want to add value. That's adding value. That's being valuable. And it doesn't consume so much of your time. Same thing with the gym. You know, you get your core workout in. Get your deadlifts, your squats, your push, your press, your pull, pull-ups, bench press, and maybe a few little ancillary things there. And that's it. You don't need the latest gadget and gizmo that isolates the one little muscle group. Unless you're doing a bodybuilding competition, it's unimportant. Diet is very much the same way. Everybody's looking for the fat and the pill and the this and the that and the needle and the shot and the whatever. It's like just
stop drinking soda.
Get to 80% of what you know you should be doing. If you're not at 80 to 90% of what you should be doing right now, don't even think about implementing something else. Because 80 to 90% on one thing is better than 50% on two things.
Yeah, totally. I love it. Joe Marino, his ask is maybe mention something around income spending trackers. He says, I'm in the early stages of creating one on a Google Sheets for tracking monthly income and spending. So thoughts around income spending trackers?
Just through your bank. Again, I don't think we need to complicate it.
There's so many apps. Yeah.
You could use an app. I mean, most banks at this point, they have their own thing and it's already synced to your account. And it'll show you where all your spending is on a month. I mean, my bank has that. Other banks that I've heard that guys have that, where it does it automatically. You already have it probably. And so if you're looking for these types of things, just use what your bank has because it's the easiest. It's going to get you started the fastest. It's already synced up to your account. And that's what I would use. That's what I do use.
Yeah. Christopher Hallmark, you're going to resonate with Christopher here. Do you find it beneficial in sitting down to write things out versus scheduling and tracking things in a digital application based platform? I tend to feel more connected and focused if I write personal things down because I do so much work on my phone.
I agree. I don't think it's wrong to use a digital app. I think some guys thrive with an app. But if I have to pull out my phone and I have a to-do list and then I have to check it off, and then it almost takes me long. It's almost longer to do that rather than to have this just in my grill where I can just write down what I need to write down, see what I need to see, all in one easy thing. And it might just be familiarity. Like I'm so good with this at this point after doing it for 10 years that this is just an easy way to do it. But I think to his point, it is satisfying to be able to write it down. I believe that it's going to be more ingrained into your psyche if you do spend time writing it down and checking off the list. I think it will feel better. So this is what I use. But if you wanted to use it digitally, then that works too. What I do for digital is ideas. I write down my ideas digitally because I don't have this all the time. So for example, if I'm out to dinner, I'm not a psycho. I don't have my battle planner in my pocket if I'm out to dinner because I'm enjoying dinner with people I love. But I do have my phone. And so when it's appropriate, I might just pull out my phone and say, oh, that was interesting. You know, the server said something and it made me think about the way that we ought to show up for other people. And so I'll write that down. And I have a very elaborate, I'm actually using it right now because I take notes for our Ask Me Anything in this system. But I just use notes on my iPhone. It's not a paid app. It's not anything fancy. I just have it organized in a way that's conducive to what I'm trying to accomplish. So if I want to go in here and I want to record a Friday field notes for this week, I can come in here. I've got, I would say just right off the cuff, 20 topics that are somewhat fleshed out that I can just pull one of these topics and address any one of these in a matter of a few minutes because I've got it very well organized here.
Yeah. Perfect segue. Gabriel Lord, what tools do you recommend? So I think he's just looking for tools that we use. Any other tools that you'd add to that? He mentions AI, project trackers, Trello, etc. Right? Anything else that you use?
I'm a simple man. And I've just found that the more simple or the less complicated, however you want to look at it, the better it's going to be. I think people overthink it. I think they overplan. I think they overstructure. And I think it leads to inefficiencies and ineffectiveness. I do.
Yeah.
I don't need 17 apps. Here's what I use. I use this battle planner that I'm holding, so it's a physical battle planner. I use notes on my phone that I just told you. And some of my topics here are Friday field notes, book notes. So if I'm reading a book, I'll put notes in there. Ask me anything notes. Notes when I do podcasts. I have podcast guest list notes, projects, social media content, things that I want to post on social media, and a bunch of other things as well. New ideas, things like that. And then I use Google Calendar.
Yeah.
And that's it.
I think that's the things that I'd recommend to Gabriel is like whatever you're using, like centralize it if you can. You know, obviously I'm assuming your Google Calendar is like all encompassing, right? It's not like separated like order man versus personal, right? Like my calendar is my calendar. It's Kipp Sorensen's calendar, right? Yeah. And so it's chaos. I share that with my wife.
Yeah.
She'll send me invites to get things on my calendar, just like anyone else. So I schedule personal life just like I'd schedule meetings. So I have a standardized process around my scheduling. Personally, I use what integrates well with work. So if we weren't on a Microsoft platform, I'd probably use a different tool. Why? Because I don't want two different tools. Right. So for me, Microsoft has a tool called Microsoft To Do, and it aggregates any assigned task to me across the entire ecosystem. So I can see everything that's ever been assigned to me at one point on my phone or on my PC, browser, whatever. So right. So that's tool number one from a tracking perspective. And then the other tool I use, kind of like your similar notes, is an app called OneNote. And it's great because I use it on my phone. I use it on my PC. It's synced. I have a notebook, has sections, has pages, and I use it the same way. Idea enters my mind. I go, plop it, whether I'm on my phone or my PC, document it. And then if I need to reference it, I have a central location to get to it. For me, the key thing is, and this is coming from someone that's a technologist, right? Like I've made my living for the last 20 plus years in the space of technology. Right. So if anybody should be pitching tech as a solution, it should be me. Right. Tech's not a solution. It automates and amplifies what's there. So whatever it is, have a system, a process, and utilize technology to help it. But if you can't do it with sticky notes, if you can't do it with the battle planner, it doesn't matter. Right. And that's kind of the recommendation I would have is have a good process in place. And then if you find some tech that works great, awesome. But don't think tech is the solution. You don't need tech. You could do it with sticky notes and be highly productive.
Yeah. And I would argue you're not a tech guy. I would argue you're an efficiency and effectiveness guy.
I'm a realist.
I mean, that's truly. And so you're looking for tools that are going to be effective and efficient. And if tech happens to be it, then you're going to utilize the tech to do it. And if it's not, then you won't. A couple other things that I use is, on calendars, I have calendars for everything. My kids' sports goes on its separate calendar, but it's all aggregated into my Google Calendar, right? Work. I even have a call list calendar. So there's people, I've got a couple of calls to make this afternoon when I'm on the road, and I have a list of 3 or 4 guys that I need to call, and that's in purple. And they're just little 15-minute time blocked window. And I just know, okay, boom, boom, boom. I got to call those 3 people. Good, done. Reading is something that I've actually changed over the past, I would say 6 months to a year. And I do a lot more listening than I do reading because I'm busy and listening is effective. I can do 1.7 times speed or 1.5, depending on who's narrating it. And I can get through a lot of information very quickly, and I'm on the road, so I like that. That works out pretty well for me. But the thing I was thinking of when you were talking about tech and efficiency is, again, to use an analogy of a football team, because I like analogies. They help me grasp it better. Is you could have the trickiest play in the world. It could be so clever and beautifully crafted, and it could look really cool on the whiteboard with the X's and O's, and everybody's got their assignments. But if you can't run the damn play, is it really that beautiful? And I've found that the best teams, they usually have about 10 to 15 plays. That's it. And they have variations of those plays. So they have a left and the right side. They have, the 2 hole, the 4 hole, the 6 hole. So that turns one play into 3. But one play is actually 6 plays because you have the 2, the 4, the 6, and then the 1, the 3, the 5 hole. And so now you have 3 plays on each side based on one play. And that's simple. That's effective. I think I remember years ago when Peyton Manning was still playing. I think it might have been in the Super Bowl, but somebody was being interviewed and they were oh no, it was Tom Brady. And somebody said, do you feel like your defense is going to do well against Tom Brady? And the guy said something like, our defense is solid. We've studied film and we've done this and we've done that. But at the end of the day, it's Tom Brady and we still have to stop him. He could tell us the play and it would still be potent against any defense in the NFL. Because he's so good at basic fundamental things that even if you knew the play, it would still be hard to stop.
Yeah. I can't help but make the correlation, jiu-jitsu. How many hundreds of types of submissions there are? There's tons, right? There's so many fancy moves. Top submission, rear naked choke.
Yeah.
Number 2, arm bar. Number 3, triangle. Number 4, kimura.
Yeah.
White belts know all those.
Right.
But still, it's the fundamental submissions that everyone catches in a tournament. It's not the fancy one.
And
right?
you know what else is funny about that, Kipp, is just based on our level, my level of jiu-jitsu versus yours, we could sit down on the mat and we could say, all right, we're gonna roll for 3 minutes, and you could say, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this, then I'm going to take your back, but then I'm going to let it go just because I want to toy around with you a little bit. And instead of choking you, I'm going to push your head down, I'm going to grab your arm, and I'm going to arm bar you face down. Like you could tell me that, and based on our level of skill, you'd probably be accurate about 95+% of the time. And the only other time would be like some little fluke. But 95% of the time, you could probably execute that against somebody of my caliber. And that just goes to show you that if you know your system well enough, you're unstoppable. And that goes back to our lack of focus, being distracted. Know the play, know the route. Get so good at it that nothing is going to deter you from accomplishing it.
Totally. I love it. All right, Richard Dennison, he has a good one here. How to best incorporate and do a brief weekly family meeting so as to align with setting personal goals.
Well, the thing I would say on family meetings is really it's age dependent. If you treat your kids like you, then you're going to lose them. You really are. So try not to, based on their ages, make it so elaborate that they dread doing family meeting with you every time. Try to infuse some energy, some life, and some fun. So you might talk about, hey, what are your goals? What are your goals this week, guys? It's Sunday night. We're going to sit down for an hour, and we're just going to talk about 2 things you want to get done this week. And maybe that's all the family meeting is. And everybody goes around, they say, I want to do this and this. I want to do this and this, and you just go through them family and you tell everybody what your goals are, and everybody writes it down, and you slap it on the refrigerator. And then Monday night when you're having dinner, it's like, hey, Billy, you said that you wanted to make the football team. And so how did you have to lift and you have to run and you have to be conditioned. So how did that go today? What'd you do today? I think it could be as simple as that. And then maybe it's a lesson. Maybe at the end you give a little bit of a lesson that you think is important. I wouldn't make it a half-hour lesson. I'd make it a 3-minute lesson. And then after that, everybody goes and gets ice cream Sunday night. And we go out together and we don't talk about the goals. We just go out and have fun now.
Yeah,
and
I love that.
think if you do that, you're going to have I wouldn't even call it a family meeting, because then it brings formality to it. It's like, oh, God, Dad does family meeting again.
Freaking family meeting. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would just infuse a lot more fun than you initially think you ought to. And again, it's age dependent, but that's what I would do.
Yeah. Here's an idea, and I might steal this idea actually, because I'm like, I'm kind of digging this. Let me run this by you, Ryan. In the dev space, software engineers, this idea of a daily stand-up is super common. And it's common. We call them daily stand-ups in agile software development. And the idea is that you're standing up, you're not sitting down, so it's supposed to be rapid fire. And it's the stand up of what are you working on today in the software that you're developing as a team. So then that way we all understand where we're at in the code and if there's any potential blockers on what you plan to get done today. That's the whole intent.
Got it.
I do stand-ups even though I don't run a software development team anymore. We still do stand-ups. And our stand-up is, what do you got today? And anything I need to be aware of, anything you need support from me, and any issues. So we can unblock each other. And it might be really fast, like, no, I'm working on this, I'm solid, no, nothing. Or I might be like, hey, I'm doing this. Hey, I need this from you, Ryan. Or I needed some clarity for me to progress on this thing that I need to get done today. And that's it. And then we wrap up the call, right? And right now I'm like thinking, hey, man, I'm thinking daily stand-up before we go off to school. What do we got today? All right, we're all buttoned up on schedules, no issues. We're all clear. Any concerns that you guys have, break.
Yeah.
Might be something fun.
I like it. I think if you can make it fun and playful, if you could add fun rules, like put a timer to it, you know, it's like you have 15 seconds. You have to stop talking after 15 seconds. So I don't care if you're mid sentence or whatever, or, you know, maybe some days you mix it up.
Yeah.
Maybe one person comes up with a theme of whatever that stand up is, and everybody has to focus on the theme. Or maybe on Thursday mornings, it's like joke Thursday mornings, where everybody just comes with their favorite joke. And that's what it is. It's just a joke. It's not, here's what I'm gonna do today. It's just a joke. That's it. And everybody makes each other laugh. And then it's like, good, break, go. I think things like that, mixing it up, will add a lot of value to something like this.
All right, Ty Sherwood, is it better to plan a week ahead or the night before or the same day?
2 of 3, a week ahead and the night before.
Yeah. And the night before is just a check-in, right?
That's all it is. It's like, almost. Because things change, right? If I plan it, and I know with about 80% surety what I'm going to be doing through this week. I already know. Most of my appointments are booked. Most of my schedule is set. I already know what I need to accomplish this week. It's already done. And so I have that week already planned out because of Google Calendar and everything else. And then every night I just recap. Okay, what did I get done today? That's done, and that's done. But I still have this. Oh, that one thing came up. You know what? I need to plug that in tomorrow. I didn't anticipate that, but I'm going to plug that into the thing and make your adjustments. So having a daily check-in, and I would do it after, because I think if you do it after, it's fresh. Like, okay, I don't have to remember anything that happened the day before. It's really fresh in your mind. And it also tees you up for the next day. I have found that when I know what I'm going to do the next day, I'm much more enthusiastic and energetic about what the day holds. But if I don't know, I'm lethargic, I'm lazy, I kind of drag my feet, I get distracted easily, and I'm much less productive if I haven't thought about it the night before.
Totally. And you can kind of, I don't know what it is. There's like a sense of gamifying to it that's kind of fun. I mean, I knew this morning, because I made this list last night, the 4 critical things that must happen today. Like unconditional, I have to get these 4 things done. I found myself, I knew this podcast we were going to be recording at 10 a.m. And around 9, I was like, I'm going to try to get 2 of the 4 done before 10 a.m.
Yeah.
And guess what? I got them done. It wasn't a big deal. I time boxed it. I'm like, bam, bam, bam. I'm feeling great. And it's 10 a.m. Right? I'm already like the day's almost already a success. Right? Because I gamified it a little bit by identifying these top critical issues the night before. And I was able to execute and be super intentional when I started my day this morning.
Kipp, I actually had the same thing. To give you another example, just to prove the point of what you're talking about. I knew that I had to do a little podcast prep work for the podcast that's being released tomorrow. I needed to record a few things and get it to my editor. And around 9:30, because I was doing other things. So at 9:30, I'm like, okay, I have a half an hour before Kipp and I have this conversation. I think between 9:30 and 10, I can write out what I need to say, and I'll do that. And so at 9:30, I wrote it out, and it took me like 11 minutes. I'm like, okay, I still have 19 minutes. It takes me about 10 minutes to record that. So I'm like, well, I'll just record it really quick. I was planning on recording that after this podcast, Kipp. Well, guess what? I already did it. I wrote the thing. I recorded already. And then I have a meeting at noon. So that's about an hour away from now. And I gave myself an hour to prep for that meeting. Well, I don't think I'm going to need an hour because I already freed up some of that time. And so now I have an extra half an hour that I captured, and I can go through, and I think in 30 minutes that I just freed up, I can hammer out probably 20 or so emails that I need to get done before I get prepped for my meeting. And my meeting prep might really only take me 15 to 20 minutes. So I've already captured about 45 minutes of my day, not to dink around and doom scroll on social media, to do my next thing. So that when I'm done at the end of the day, I feel really proud of what I accomplished. And I can, I think the first person asked about work-life balance, I can go be present in my personal life without having to worry about all the things I didn't do today. Because that's not the case. I got it all done today. I already am.
Totally.
And you are too, it sounds like.
Yeah. So last question from Greg Lewis, and we've kind of addressed Greg's question, but there's an element of this, Ryan, that I want to talk about, kind of like the mental side of this. So kind of listen to this question from a mindset perspective. He says, we know the saying, when man makes a plan, God laughs. I know for me, when plans go off the rails, so do I. Emotionally, physical, even spiritual resolve weakens and sometimes dies out. So let's talk about the mental state of when things go awry. And then we, have a tendency sometimes, us men, to throw our hands up, right? It's like, and then we stop executing the plan because the expectations and other things.
So I would say this. I'm writing some notes down here because these frameworks help me. So the framework, and I just thought of this, and so I'm going to be thinking out loud a little bit. The framework is this: anticipate and recalibrate. If you do those two things, and I'll have to come up with another word so it kind of has some alliteration in there, but anticipate, recalibrate. So anticipate that things are going to go wrong. They just are. And if you can anticipate even what those might be, then you'll be even more prepared. So Kipp, you and I block out 90-minute segments for hour-long meetings. I know that. So right now it's 11:05. We usually get wrapped up at 11. But if we go over, it's not really a big deal because we still have that. We still have 25 minutes if we need it. We're not going to take that, but we still have it if we need it. So we block out those 90 days. It's anticipating what might go wrong or what might get us off track. Recalibrate is knowing that as soon as it gets off the rails, okay, stop. Don't just go into panic mode. Don't just start randomly doing anything. It's recalibration. You need to stop. It's like having a big piece of machinery at a plant manufacturing facility. And all of a sudden that machine, it starts skewing the product. The product's off a little bit. Something's happening. Maybe things aren't aligning or it's breaking down or whatever. You don't just turn it up. You don't just go say, oh, it's not working. Let's make the machine go faster.
Make more widgets. Yeah.
Right. You say, oh, shut it down. Shut it down. That's the first thing you do. Shut it down. And then you shut it down and you start to recalibrate. You run some tests. You figure out where the breakdown in the system was. And then you figure out where it was. And then you just recalibrate it. You're like, oh, it's just off. I need to adjust left and up 3 or whatever. You make your recalibration and then you activate. I guess that's maybe the last one. So that was pretty good on the fly, right? Activate.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So you've got anticipate, recalibrate, and activate. So once you've recalibrated and you know now, what does that look like? Reprioritize, right? This went wrong. What do I need to get back on track with? What do I put in order? Change this, put this up here. This is going down here. Gosh, I'm going to have to bump that to Thursday. And now you activate. You get back to work based on your recalibration.
Yeah. And I would say most people don't recalibrate because they hold on to the expectation of what should be. And, well, I shouldn't have to. And then they'll just rant.
You don't have to. Yeah, you don't have to.
Complain. Yeah. And then they're just like, oh, well, I shouldn't have to deal with this. And it's like, okay, got it. But you need to. So what are you going to do? And move to action. But we get stuck in our expectations when they're not met, and you need to let it go. And I think that's why I like the anticipate, because there's two elements to the anticipate. One, margin and reducing risk of what might potentially happen, but it also gives you the mindset that something might go wrong, and that's okay. And when it does, we just learn from it, we pivot, and we grow, and we continue taking action. We don't just get mad at it, right? And sit with it. We move beyond that.
You know, I just want to throw a little bit of a different thought when you said most people don't recalibrate, and then you said you have to. It has to get done. I'm just going to throw a little bit of a different thought. You actually don't have to.
That's true.
You're not obligated to do. You can, and most people do. And then the same stuff keeps happening, and it keeps breaking down. And when you say you have to do it, like you have to get it done, I think there's a little bit of loss of autonomy. There's a little bit of a loss of authority over your own life, and now it's a sense of obligation as opposed to a sense of choice.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to do that. You don't need to do that. But you get the opportunity to do it. You should do it. You should want to do it. And what I think that little mindset shift does is it gives you power. It says, I'm in control of this. I actually do have more control over the thing not working, the system breaking down, the distractions that come into my life. And if you have power over it, you have the power to do something about it. And I think choice is huge for guys. If you're choosing, you don't have to go to the gym, but you choose to. You don't have to put down that double bacon cheeseburger that you really want, but you chose to do that. And that's empowering.
Totally. Well, and what's great about it, Ryan, is how much different do we show up in those examples when it's out of choice versus I have to. Like, grab the guy that feels like he has to go to the gym because his wife will berate him, or his doctor's, blah, blah, I have to do it. Compare his workout to the guy of, I'm choosing to.
Yeah.
Drastic difference. Can I share something? I know it relates to this. And I wrote this down yesterday. I was sitting at church and I wrote this down, and it resonates, or at least it really connects to this idea of choice. It's around repentance, so it's a little bit of a shift here. But when repentance is approached without learning, it devolves into mere compliance. We check boxes, we avoid certain behavior, we meet minimum standards, but we miss the transformation. True repentance is not about compliance, it's about growth. Without learning from sin, allowing the Spirit to teach us, and turning to Christ for change, repentance stalls. It becomes shallow rule keeping instead of the deep conversion that lifts us towards holiness. You can grab that same concept and apply it to everything. Is you're going to the gym compliance? Or is it rooted in choice, in learning and growth and opportunity? Or are you just trying to be compliant to keep the peace, right, in these other areas of our lives, whether it's our jobs, going to the gym, our spiritual beliefs? I mean, I think it's transcendent and changes how we show up in this world and the growth that's available to us.
Well, and Kipp, we're talking about choosing to do all the things that you want to do, but I also think there's another angle too. And I love the quote that you shared. You also have a choice as to what you don't do.
Yeah.
So you can choose not to engage in behavior that you know is not conducive to your growth. You can choose not to sit on that board. You're not obligated to. You can choose that because that leaves you the opportunity to choose something different that's more in alignment with what you're after. You have complete control over your life. And even if you don't have control over every aspect of your life, this is something that I learned from Viktor Frankl in Man's Search for Meaning, you still have control over how you respond to the circumstances you find yourself in. Contrary to popular belief, we are confronted with all sorts of experiences and conversations and relationships that are beyond our control. but still impact us deeply. And it's your decision to respond appropriately that I think spells the difference between whether or not that's going to be something potentially catastrophic in your life or something that could greatly serve you.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it, man.
Cool.
I mean, we field questions from Facebook. Obviously, I think that's a good call out. Join us there on Facebook if you guys haven't. That's facebook.com/group/Order of Man. Ryan, we should have confirmed this right before we hit record. What's our enrollment in the IC?
Well, so it's September 15th. We're doing something a little bit different. And what we're doing this iteration is on September 15th, when you join us in the Iron Council, we don't just throw you to the wolves. We never did that anyways, but I'm just using that terminology. We don't just throw you in the mix and say, figure it out, good luck. And I feel like maybe we were kind of doing that. And I've seen a lot of other groups that have popped up where they're like, here, just do this thing. And it's just not real conducive to what I really wanted to create for these guys. So we're doing it differently. What we're going to do is when anybody joins the Iron Council, they are going to get teamed up with what we call an Iron Council coach. Kipp, and you're heading up the Iron Council coaches. You're putting together the curriculum and the training and the everything that goes behind it.
Kind of the guide around it, yeah.
Yeah, so when you join the Iron Council, you're going to get a message and an email, and it's going to introduce you to the systems that we use, but then it's also going to get you in touch with your coach. And your coach is going to work you through the foundational process of the Iron Council and get you onto a team of a small team of men who are going to help hold you accountable, help you identify goals, keep you on track towards those goals, push you, hold your feet to the fire, celebrate when you achieve, sit with you when things go south. It's pretty incredible when you get yourself on a team, but there's a process to get there. And we know exactly what it is because we've been doing this for 10 years and we have over 10,000 men who have gone through this program. And we want to make sure it's as effective as possible. So you can sign up September 15th, or if you want to skip the line and do it early, I just got 3 emails on Friday because they listen to the Friday Field Notes. If you're ready to get going and be assigned the one-to-one coach, then just email me, ryan@orderofman.com, and put coaching in the subject line. If you do that, then I will allow you to skip the line before September 15th, get you assigned to a coach immediately, and get you off to the races as soon as possible.
Love it. Love it. So, such a great example of how things work.
How do you mean?
Like, and you want something, guess what you do? You don't wait and hope.
Yeah.
You shoot off an email and you say, hey, here's an exception. I want to be in. This is why I'm willing to commit. Put me in, coach, right? You ask to be put in the game.
Yeah.
You don't wait, right? And those are the kind of caliber of guys that are usually attracted to the Iron Council. And what we probably preach, I think, fairly well in the IC is be assertive, right? And move to action.
Definitely.
That's great.
Definitely. Well, cool, brother. Appreciate you. Again, guys, head to orderofman.com/Iron Council. Really good questions. Next week, we're going to do a different topic. We don't know what it is quite yet, but it might be around the world of money. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're asking questions. Be in the Facebook group. Be in the Iron Council. Send me an email if you want coaching, and we'll start getting after it. But we'll be back on Friday. Until then, go out there, take action, and become the man you are meant to be.